Jane Eyre, an autobiography by Charlotte Bronte, follows Jane Eyre, an orphan girl who grows up facing loneliness, cruelty, and emotional neglect. At Gateshead Hall, her aunt Miss Reed and cousins constantly humiliate her, resulting these painful childhood experiences shaping her strong desire for self-respect and emotional freedom. When she is sent to Lowood School, she suffers from strict discipline, hunger, and illness, but she also gains education, inner strength, moral guidance through figures like Helen Burns and Miss Temple. Helen teaches Jane patience and forgiveness, while Miss Temple inspires intelligence and independence. As a young woman, Jane becomes a governess at Thornfield Hall, where she meets Edward Rochester. Rochester is intelligent, mysterious, emotionally wounded, and has a wife, which Jane doesn't know, and trapped by the mistakes of his past. Jane and Rochester develop a deep emotional connection because both feel isolated from society, whereas Jane also feels that she is not enough beautiful enough to love Rochester. Unlike traditional romances of the time, Jane refuses to become submissive despite loving him deeply. She believes emotional equality and self-respect are more important than wealth or passion. The hidden presence of Barthamashan, Rochester's mentally ill wife locked in the attic, represents the dark secrets, repression, and destructive consequences of Victorian society, whereas Jane is also a Victorian representation of Victorian women. When Jane discovers Rochester is already married, she faces the greatest conflict of her life. So this character has also some kind of emotional complexions too, outside of external problems. Although she passionately loves him, she refuses to stay with him because doing so would destroy her moral principles and personal dignity, which is Rochester is married. Her decision to leave Thornsfield shows her emotional strength and independence. During her time with the Rivers family, Jane discovers a different form of temptation through St. John's Rivers, who offers her a life of religious duty without love. Jane realizes that a life without emotional connection would destroy her spirit just as much as immoral passion would. When Jane returns to Rochester, the situation has changed completely. Thornfield has been destroyed by fire caused by Bertha, who dies in the flames. Rochester is physically broken, partially blind, symbolizing the destruction of his pride and past sins. Similarly, Jane also goes to went to rescue her aunt, who was also ill during the time of her death. Jane now returns not as a dependent governess, but as an equal, financially independent, emotionally mature, and spiritually confident. Their final union represents equality, forgiveness, emotional healing, and true companionship. The novel deeply explores themes of class inequality, women's independence, religion, morality. Jane's journey is ultimately about becoming a complete individual who refuses to sacrifice either love or self-respect. It is a kind of a Bildungsroman novel. If you're someone who likes to read romance genres, this book is pretty good.